Sorry, everyone. There we are. We are live on YouTube on the GitLab channel. All right. Given that we have a working link, shall we get started then? All right. Welcome, everybody, to the kickoff of GitLab 10.5 already. Can you believe it? It's the 10.5. It felt like 10 was yesterday. Apologies for the problems with Zoom and YouTube. To start off, I know that some people that are in this call would sometimes like to chat something while we're talking. Please use the YouTube chat. So go to YouTube to this live stream and use that chat so everyone can participate rather than using the chat we have here in Zoom that is privileged to people that are in Zoom. There's no point for that, so we might as well do this. On that note, we have a very, very good release incoming. It's not the first of the year. The first of the year will actually be released on January 22nd. This one will be out on February 22nd. Nonetheless, it's going to be, pretty sure it's going to be the best release we've ever done. We're doing more stuff in terms of portfolio management, which is always very good to see. We're adding a lot of little things that make your life better. Things like a search API, things like, static application security testing for Java applications, not a small thing, very big thing indeed. And a lot of complicated authentication, authorization stuff, which is very excited. We're further improving Geo, which I always think is very exciting. And of course, many things in terms of monitoring and particular things on Kubernetes, which I'm very excited about. I don't know about you, but I played a lot with Kubernetes over the past holidays. And it's very cool stuff. So without further ado, Victor, what is discussion bringing in 10.5, or what will we be working on?
Definitely. So discussion is working hard on portfolio management as we have been for the past couple of releases. So you might have been noticing for folks that have been using Epics with each release, it's inching a little bit closer to what you would expect. At the beginning, it might have been, scratching your head or fingernails scratching on a board. It's really annoying. Why can't I have this feature? But with GitLab, we work incrementally with small iterations. And so with the upcoming release, what we're going to have is allow you to comment on epics, very much like you can already comment in issues and merge requests. So we're bringing that great functionality to epics so you can truly collaborate. Up until now, you can only do that, say, within an issue and refer to the comment, or refer to the epic, but now you can do that directly in the epic. And as you would expect, within the comment thread, you see system notes with issues and merge requests, and you'll see that with epics as well. So as you're adding issues, you're removing issues, you're mentioning other epics and so forth, that type of information will be in the epic comment thread as we release GitLab 10.5. The roadmap view is another big jump for portfolio management. It's our first feature aside from epics. So a lot of folks have been asking us, what is this portfolio management thing? Why are we just always talking about epics and portfolio management? There must be more to portfolio management than just epics. And that is the case. We've always been planning this, and we're really excited to be able to finally get to a place where we can work on the roadmap view. And so please click through to see some of the mockups there. It's really exciting. So departing from portfolio management and moving to other great things within discussion, a code review. And within code review, an oft-requested feature is allowing you to have batch comments. So what that means is that right now, every time you add a comment inside a merge request, that sends an email to the person who should be receiving the emails. And additionally, you can look at the entire merge request version and look at all the comments together, look at all the code together, and then click publish all at once. So we want you to be able to do that so you can have a first-class citizen batch comment review. So you can add 5 comments, you can add 10 comments, and click one button to hit publish. So maybe you enter 9 comments, and on the 10th comment, you realize the first comment didn't make sense. You can go back and change it before you hit publish. So we're allowing you to do that with batch commenting. So we really want to start working on that in 10.5, where we're going to do some cleanup work additionally first with this view refactor for merge request discussions, and you can click on the link to see more there. But once we complete that within 10.5, we're going to start working on the batch commenting code review piece, and we hope to make a lot of progress there. We're not 100% sure we're going to be able to ship it in 10.5, but we really want to start working on it. Global Search API is something that we've wanted for a while now, And in the EE version, it will be powered by Elasticsearch since search already is. And in the CE version, it will have regular search. So we're wrapping our great search capability within an API. A very large customer has been asking us for this, and we're happy to work with them and to bring this feature to both EE and CE so that all customers and all users of GitLab can benefit. Approve additionally is a small step in our progress towards bringing more functionality and features and granularity to approvals and code review and merge requests. Viewing all issues of subgroups in group issues page is finally bringing the great functionality of subgroups, something that we shipped a long time ago, subgroup functionality, but we really want to bring the rest of GitLab within subgroups. So a lot of customers have been asking us, a lot of users have been asking us, you have subgroups, but how come I can't see issues inside subgroups in my group list? So we want to do that here. And this is a very small step, but a first step in this direction. And we're really excited to embark on this. The rest of the list are smaller things, but still very important, such as the redesign of the group label list and some performance enhancements, a lot of bug fixes, and a lot of UI polish and usability. For example, styling disable buttons, that subscribe and unsubscribe toggle in the sidebar. It's always been a button. Now it's going to be a toggle since it should be, per our great UX folks who have been telling us for a long time now. And small things like promoting labels and milestones to make it really easy and warn our users that it's a one direction thing and you can't go backwards. And finally, internationalizing our sidebar title labels and so forth, so that we can actually bring GitLab and everybody can contribute to the wider community. Fabio, you're up next.
Yes, Victor, thank you. Very impressive amount of things we are going to have for discussion. Also, CI/CD team has a lot of important things that we want to share. As usual, I'm just doing highlights here, so I encourage everyone to go on the document link and click on issue board so you can see the full list of the things we are going to work for 10.5. So first of all, let's talk about the support test for Java application test. So the static analysis security testing for applications is part of the story we are following. Thanks to our CTO Dimitri, we are implementing a lot of tests and checks in order to allow applications developed with GitLab to be more secure and more safe to be deployed. So since we already implemented a few languages, specifically Rails and Nodes and Ruby, we want to improve the list of supported languages, adding Java. That is very, very common in a lot of cases. And we got also feedbacks from customers that is one of the features that they want to see. So we are moving on this as soon as possible in 10.5. Also, we have another important feature that is, say, company-wide appreciated for sure, that is shared CI runners for groups. For now, we have shared runners that can be used by any project in the GitLab installation, or we have specific runners that can be just connected to a specific project or a list of projects. But most of the time in corporates, we have the ability to run a bunch of projects inside a group. And so the group is related to an organization or a specific functional group inside the organization. And they don't want to add the specific runners all the time to all the projects that are going to work on. And also the shared runners are not the best choice because they maybe not met correctly all the requirements. So with runners for groups, you can create a runner connected to a specific group, and then all the projects inside that group will benefit from the runners for CI/CD. So this is a very interesting feature that we're going to have. Also, we have these new features that are point C and D, so include external files in GitLab CI YAML and extend only and except the environment variables in Boolean logic. These features don't have say fancy UI or something that you can see in the interface, but are really, really interesting. So talking about the first one, it is very, very important because most of the time people don't want to write again and again snippets of configuration for their pipelines. They want to rely on code that was tested and is safe to use in most of the projects. So instead of doing copy and paste in the GitLab CI YAML file for each project, you can just point to an external resource that contains all the information you need to run your pipeline. And then customize it. And this is automatically loaded runtime into your pipeline definition and can be modified and can be improved. And all the projects pointing to it will benefit from the change. Also, extending only at accept to add environmental variables and Boolean logic will allow you to define, for example, a job to be run only if a specific environment variable or a combination of two is defined. So otherwise, the job is not even scheduled, saving a lot of resources in case, for example, for auto DevOps, you want to go to a specific path and you don't care about other optional jobs that you can just skip without problems. Apart from this, we have a bunch of enhancements, and the main categories we want to focus in order to guarantee that the GitLab will be the best product ever, our security issues we really care of, our performances, and also a bunch of UX cleanup and usability fixes that will allow people to get rid of annoying bugs or improve the view and the way the users can interact with it. That's mostly what you can find in 10.5 for CI/CD. Now, Mike and James, what about platform?
Thanks, Javier. I don't know if anyone said if this is going to be the best release ever or not, but hopefully from the platform side, it will be. I just want to talk about some of the highlights going on. We've got a number of other smaller issues, but in the interest of time, we're just summarizing some of the greater features that we're building. Number one is external policy control. And what this allows you to do is in heavily regulated environments such as HIPAA, to specify that policy to access a resource or a project on GitLab, for example, can come from a completely separate third-party system. So this means that you can specify what that API call should be. And anytime that anyone's trying to access a project, we can go out to an external server resource, send it some information about the user, send it some information about the policy that governs the project, and then an external server can say back to us whether or not to allow that user through. And in case you think you're having a bit of deja vu, this is not a glitch in the matrix. This is something we were trying to get into 10.4. It's a very big chunk of work, and unfortunately with the holidays, we weren't able to quite get through it. So this is being carried over into 10.5. As a EEP, GitLab Enterprise Edition Premium capability. Next up is something that's really cool. A lot of people have been asking us to create completely customizable permissions inside of GitLab, which, as you can imagine, would be a massive endeavor to take every single one of our very granular permissions today and make them completely customizable. But what we're doing is we're looking at a number of use cases that make a lot of sense and allowing people to customize permissions where we feel that it makes a lot of sense. And one of the things that we hear very frequently from people is allowing developers inside a group to create projects. And so what we're going to be doing is introducing an option on every single group or also at the server level to allow developers to create projects. And this will allow then that developer will become the owner of that project and be able to work within that project and assign other permissions, edit the project. So I think that's great. It gives a lot of power to developers in the developer role if you want it from an optional perspective. And then my final point is a lot of people have been using subgroups, and subgroups are a great way to organize projects and teams, or there's just a multitude of ways that you can use subgroups to organize GitLab, and this is something that no one else really has. And one of the things sort of moving from a world before subgroups to a subgroups world is if you do have an entire group of projects, today you have to transfer them one by one into a subgroup, which can be a little bit tedious. And what this will allow you to do is to take a whole group of projects and just transfer it into another group as a subgroup. So that'll just make using and migrating to subgroups a whole lot easier. And with that, it is over to James.
Thanks, Mike. So first up, we're improving support for LFS by adding support for the LFS to locking API. Earlier last year, there was a significant upgrade released to LFS to add file locking support. And GitLab hasn't yet implemented the server-side LFS to locking API. So we're going to be rolling that out to CE. And we'll also be integrating the file locking API with the existing GitLab file locking capabilities in Enterprise Edition Premium. So what that means is that for CE customers and EE standard customers, the LFS 2 capabilities will become available. And for those customers using Enterprise Edition Premium, they'll also have the ability to lock and unlock files through the interface, not just through the command line interface provided by Git. And in all editions, if a file is locked, be it through the command line interface or the interface, the web interface, sorry, we'll show whether it's locked in the interface, the web interface. So that'll be a really nice improvement for customers using large files and file locking. A feature I'm really excited about is pushing to create a project. So at the moment, if you want to create a new Git repo, a new project, you've got to go into GitLab, give it a name, create it, and then you've got to clone it and set it all up and make sure that your remote's set correctly on your local machine. But quite frequently, like, I'll create a new directory on my local machine, I'll start adding files, and I'll have a project that's already underway, and I just want to push it up. I don't want to have to switch out, create the project, come back, set it all up. So with this feature, what we're going to do is make it that you can simply git push to the remote in your personal namespace in GitLab, and if there's nothing there, we'll create a new project for you. It'll be private by default, and we'll just accept the files. So this will make it really, really easy to start new projects whenever you need them. And we'll be looking to improve this over the next couple of releases to make it really easy to start a new project. The other feature I'm really excited about is the Web IDE. So the Web IDE is going into beta in 10.4. I think I promised it for 10.3 in the last call, but unfortunately I missed the merge window. But in 10.5, we're improving it again with better support for merge requests. So you'll be able to open a merge request in the Web IDE, but you'll also be able to view a comparison between your changes and the source branch of the merge request. So typically when you're viewing a diff, you're viewing it between your local changes that you haven't yet committed and the last commit on that branch. But in the context of a merge request, you'd also want to be able to see what the resultant diff would look like once you commit it and open the merge request. So we'll be adding support for that in the Web IDE. So that's really exciting, and I think a really great use case for the Web IDE. We've also got a number of bug fixes coming through, which should improve a bunch of different areas of the GitLab application. And I've got 2 items for Geo. We're focusing on disaster recovery at the moment. So we've been working over the last few releases on the support for the sort of most basic situation, which is when you're running one primary and one secondary server. And so in 10.5, we're hoping to really nail down the disaster recovery process and tools to allow you to promote your secondary to a primary in the event that the primary fails due to some sort of disaster. And we're also going to be starting work on investigating how what changes are needed to support end secondary configurations, where you might have one primary and 3 secondaries, and your primary goes down and you want to choose one of those multiple secondaries to promote. So there's a significant degree of complexity in that compared to the one primary, one secondary configuration. So we're beginning to investigate that and plan that out for upcoming releases as we make disaster recovery a really great feature that you can rely on. I'll hand over to Joshua now for monitoring.
Thanks, James. Those are some really exciting features there across both platform and Geo. Can't wait for those. On the monitoring side, we also have some exciting features arriving. We'll be finishing up work on being able to manage and deploy Prometheus automatically for you on Kubernetes. And so this will allow you to have a one-click deploy of Prometheus on Kubernetes. And that'll also allow us to then build on top of that functionality for some additional features that might require, for example, some configuration management ongoing. One of those is, of course, coming up next, which is adding alerting for customer applications based on SLOs or service level objectives. So essentially, you can go into the performance dashboard, attach alerts to particular metrics that you see in the dashboard, And then we'll go in behind the scenes, pass along those alerting thresholds over to Prometheus and configure and notify you if those get tripped. So it's a great combination there of having an easy deployment of Prometheus and then also leveraging that to have a Prometheus server that we actually can manage and update the configuration on essentially in real time. And so a good example there is some of the nice powerful features that Kubernetes also gives you as well. Also, on the monitoring side standpoint, we're going to be looking to go GA with our GitLab metrics based on Prometheus. So these are the ones that actually come out of the Ruby and Rails code. So right now, those have been launched experimentally, and we've been making some improvements across the past couple releases to mainly improve the performance of those. And in 10.5, we'll be targeting going GA for those and essentially locking down some of the histogram bucket sizes, perhaps reducing a little bit of the cardinality to help improve performance for very large deployments, and in general, getting this ready for everyone. We're also making improvements overall to the merge request widgets. And so we have 2 widgets there present on that page for Prometheus. One of them is the recently added browser performance testing that was added in 10.3. And we're looking to make some further improvements there as well. This includes adding support for additional metrics. Right now, we provide an overall score, but we want to actually go ahead and provide additional reporting around things like how large the page size is, if it's gotten bigger or decreased. For example, how many hosts it's reaching, how many requests it took to actually create the page. So there's a wide range of metrics in there that we can support. And so we want to add a few key ones there to provide a little more visibility into what changed aside from the overall score. We also like to try and hopefully allow additional artifacts to be persisted so we can actually save the entire report as well, as opposed to just the scores that are in JSON. So it's some nice improvements there for that widget that we're really excited about. The other one is we're looking to do is to improve the deploy performance. Essentially, this is the one that shows you how much like memory has been consumed and how it has changed from the current deployment to the deployment that was just pushed. And so this we're looking to actually now persist those metrics as before they would essentially go away if the Prometheus server has expired them. And so now looking to persist those over time. So if you go back to an older MR, we'll still have the data available to present that spark line. So onto the enhancements we have here coming for build. We have a really exciting one here to kick off things, and that is we'll be adding SSL, instant SSL with Let's Encrypt for GitLab Rails. So this means you can add a couple extra lines to your GitLab RB, and we'll go ahead and automatically provision and request an SSL certificate for you and get you set up and ready to go on GitLab. So this can really help to reduce some of the complexity and time it took to configure SSL using GitLab. You had to kind of move the cert files into place and then configure Nginx to support that for you. And so this is going to make that significantly easier, which is really nice. We're also looking to try and centralize more of the configuration. Right now, if you're deploying GitLab HA, you have to sort of manage the GitLab RB configurations in multiple places. And we're trying to go ahead and kind of make this more of a centralized configuration so you don't have to duplicate as much configuration. And as you make updates, go through and update each individual box. And so it's going to help to really improve the usability of GitLab HA. And it can also lay a lot of groundwork for additional features that will be coming out hopefully in 2018 as well. And then we're also going to be going ahead and making continued progress on our cloud native charts and containers. We're on a week-to-week sort of sprint basis here. And so we're making a lot of improvements, a lot of findings and resolving those as they go along. And so we'll be continuing to push ahead, and so you can check out all the issues there in the issue list. So you can see kind of what schedule that we're finding, what we're working on as we target here having initial alpha and beta available for customers to go ahead and try. So that's it for us on the build team. It's a great release overall. You might even say the best release ever. And so super excited about this. And I think that's it and wraps up the kickoff for 10.5. So thanks everyone for attending.
Do you take any questions, Josh?
Oh, sure, we can absolutely take questions.
I believe there's one from Sid in the chat for you.
I'll speak up. Do you have something, do you have to do something for instant SSL or in GitLab.rb, or will it become the default?
Yep. So right now, for this release, we're targeting adding just one line, well, 2 lines in GitLab RB, one to turn on Let's Encrypt support, and the other to provide the contact information. So that way you have the email address of the person requesting it for GitLab, as Let's Encrypt typically requires that. So those are the only 2 flags you need right now. And we can certainly look at adding that as the default in the future here. If you have an HTTPS URL passed. And then basically try and see if they can try and come up with an email contact that makes sense for users.
How is it, do you know how that's handled? I know like of Nginx modules and stuff that do instant SSL for new domains. How do they do that?
Yeah, I don't, if I recall correctly, I don't think the API requires it. I think there's some of the modules that we're using require them. And so, you can perhaps make a change there and pass it upstream. And that way we can create it without having the contact list. That of course means that you might not get the renewal notification. And we're trying to also manage that lifecycle as well as part of this. But yeah, so we just kind of had a couple things to dig into there to really kind of make it totally hands-free.
Cool.
All right, that's it. Josh, you want to wrap off?
Sure. So 10.5, so super exciting, best release ever. Can't wait for this to come out, and thanks everyone for attending, and look forward to 10.6, which will be even better.
Thanks, everybody.